Welcome to the 700 Club, and thanks for joining us. Today, President Biden visits Saudi Arabia on a high-stakes trip. He says his purpose is to promote U.S. interests.
Before leaving Israel, the president made an unprecedented visit to a key part of Jerusalem, and he voiced his support for a Palestinian state. Chris Mitchell brings us the story.
For the first time, a U.S. president visited East Jerusalem, sending a signal to Israel that part of the city could be the future capital of a Palestinian state. From there, Biden headed to Bethlehem to meet with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and advocated for a two-state solution.
Two states along the 1967 lines were mutually agreed to swaps remain the best way to achieve equal measure of security, prosperity, freedom, and democracy for the Palestinians as well as Israelis.
After Israel comes perhaps the most challenging part of his Mideast trip, the president going to Saudi Arabia, a country he once called a pariah due to its human rights record and connections to the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi.
My position on Khashoggi has been so clear. If anyone doesn't understand it in Saudi Arabia or anywhere else, then they haven't been around for a while.
Biden, though, made a point of wanting more positive relations with the country, even as he admits the U.S. left a vacuum in the region.
The reason I'm going to Saudi Arabia, though, is much broader, is to promote U.S. interest. Promote U.S. interest in a way that I think we have an opportunity to reassert what I think we've made a mistake of walking away from, our influence in the Middle East.
With the United States of America distances ourselves from other people and other countries that should be stronger friends and stronger allies, they go elsewhere. And when they go elsewhere, there aren't other good, friendly countries that are waiting with open arms. Saudi has an enormous amount of resources. They are an attractive prize on the world stage. So whether it's China or Russia or others, that's where they're going to run to. And therefore, it behooves us to hug them closely and to enhance the relationship with them, even if we've got challenges in that relationship. To distance them is only going to propel them towards our enemies and our foes.
On Thursday, the Israeli government approved a deal that may pave the way for relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, while Saudi Arabia also granted flyover rights to Israel. When Biden does land in Saudi Arabia, he will find a different Middle East. John Medved is the founder of Our Crowd, Israel's largest venture capital platform.
Really good news recently in this part of the world has been the Abraham Accords, which was so smartly named, because what it has resulted in is this incredible release of energy between the children of Abraham.
Medved wrote about this new Middle East on his blog on LinkedIn and says the sand curtain in the Middle East is coming down.
And when this sand curtain, which separated us from our neighbors, sort of dissipates, when this comes down, starts to come down, it's not coming back up.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, there's certainly hope for peace in the Middle East as a result of the Abraham Accords. I don't think there'll be hope for peace with Iran or with Hamas or even with the Palestinian Authority. They are dedicated to driving Israel to the sea. And I'm absolutely shocked the President of the United States would stand up in East Jerusalem and call for a two-state solution based on the 67 border. That doesn't make any sense to me. It means he really doesn't know the history of the region to say that that's a proper thing to do. They were offered that, and they were offered that back in 1948. They were offered that back in the 1968, after the Six-Day War. They have consistently refused because they don't want any Jews in the land at all. But today, in 2022, to say we're going to bring up the 67 border, are you kidding me? Golda Meir was very famous for taking American diplomats to Ben Gurion Airport and then pointing to a nearby hill and saying, if you restore the 67 border, that means a Palestinian can stand on that hill and take out the airplane that you just landed in. There's no security for Israel in that kind of arrangement, and particularly with the ideology that's being proclaimed within the Palestinian Authority, let alone what's being proclaimed out of Iran and out of Gaza. These things are, it's absolutely incredible that you would do that. And you're completely ignoring the cities. These aren't settlements, they're cities of Jewish people within those borders. It's incredible to me that someone would actually make that claim and say, I'm here to do that. We need to recognize, just as the U.S. Congress has recognized, Jerusalem is the undivided capital of Israel. That's why our embassy is now there, to go back and to encourage anyone by standing up in East Jerusalem and making that kind of proclamation is just beyond belief. In other news, former President Trump and his family are now in mourning. His first wife, Ivana, died suddenly yesterday. Ephraim Graham has that story from the CBN newsroom. Ephraim?
Gordon, Ivana Trump was the businesswoman who formed half of the power couple in the 1980s with business mogul Donald Trump. Emergency teams found her unresponsive near a staircase in her New York apartment. The former president announced her death on social media, saying she was a wonderful, beautiful, and amazing woman. Their daughter, Ivanka, posted a picture of her mother and said her mom was brilliant, charming, and passionate. Donald and Ivana married in 1977 and divorced in 1992. Ultimately remaining friends. In her business career, she designed several fashion and beauty lines. Police are now investigating if she fell down the flight of steps. In Washington, the political battles over abortion have turned to crisis pregnancy centers. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren called them deceptive and urged federal, state governments to take action against them. And a group of Democratic senators are pushing Google to censor pro-life clinics from search results, ads, and maps. On the Republican side, Senator Josh Hawley is unveiling a bill to protect pro-life clinics and houses of worship from violence. Fox reports that Hawley took that action after attacks by left-wing protesters. As Charlene Aaron now shows us, crisis pregnancy centers have been doing what they can to protect themselves.
Pregnancy centers nationwide remain on high alert due to attacks and threats following the court's decision on Roe. Many are improving and upgrading security and hardening their facilities, ensuring that staff and clients remain safe as they continue the fight for life. That's because since the fallout of the Roe abortion decision, dozens of incidents of violence, vandalism, and intimidation have been reported against pro-life pregnancy centers.
We were preparing, but we couldn't have imagined the response, the backlash from that, especially against pregnancy centers, because there's so much anger.
Toby DuBois at Crisis Pregnancy Center of Tidewater Kyme Centers recently shared an example of that anger at one of his center's 5 locations.
They put Jane's Revenge on our window, spray painted the Anarchy A on it. Whoever did that, they must have surveilled our place and found that one moment that they could kind of sneak in there, and they had to move quick.
DuBois says while his clinics are seeing a record number of patients, there's also an increase in fake online reviews, criticizing their work, and abortion advocates posing as patients to harass workers. As a result, the center recently implemented high-tech security measures with better surveillance and more control over clinic access.
We've had to put the technology in place so that when they come in, that we can have confidence about who's coming in and that they can get in quickly. We want a system that can allow them very quick access.
Armed guards also now patrol the area.
We'd hired a professional security firm and told them, when Roe gets overturned, we want your guards to be on our premises. And they have been, and since Roe was overturned. And they come out there covertly and overtly. So sometimes you don't see them, but they're there, and sometimes you see them. And so that's a huge change for us.
State officials and local law enforcement are also getting involved.
Our governor, our attorney general, has reached out to us and other pregnancy centers, letting us know that they care, they're concerned, wanting to do whatever they can in this moment. We have been so encouraged working with the local police departments. They have really stepped up, increased patrols around our locations.
The need is growing nationally as Philadelphia's pro-life union office, also attacked and targeted by vandals, recently tightened security.
We have gotten cameras. The police are out there, and some of our centers have actually even hired outside security officers to be out there 24 hours a day.
Union volunteer Phaedra Anderson says despite the recent attacks, more people are giving to the group's mission of rescuing the unborn.
There has been an increase in financial support. We got a donation for our maternity home for $2,500 after the ruling. Our applications for volunteers have beefed up. I think that this has lit a fire under some people that say, now I need to get into this. I need to do something.
In the end, DeBoss says he and his staff plan to continue the work God has entrusted to them.
The Lord is our light and our salvation. Whom shall we fear? The Lord is our stronghold. Whom shall we be afraid? Even if the army encamps around us, we're not going to have fear. We're going to have confidence. So our confidence is in the Lord.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Our confidence is in the Lord. He is a God of peace. Gordon?
Well, it absolutely makes no sense to me to attack crisis pregnancy centers. Those are centers dedicated to helping women and helping women who want to have their babies and giving that help in very tangible ways, from just the basics of trips to a doctor, but more importantly, all the provisions that you need in order to bring a child into the world. These are wonderful things to do. We should applaud what the crisis pregnancy centers are doing. They're out there helping women have children. I absolutely want a culture where mothers want to have their children and want to raise them up and have the provision that they need. It's very difficult in these days. It's actually very expensive to have children. Let's help mothers however we can.